Let's talk about the word algorithm. Algorithm is a fancy word for saying it's a mathematical rule. So stop at the stop sign, that's a traffic law. It's still a rule, but it's a traffic law. Here, we're going to talk about our integer rules, like adding two positives, adding two negatives, and we're going to call those algorithms. It's a mathematical rule. So once you understand mathematically why these algorithms work, which I would do in my classroom using little chips that are positives and negatives, using number lines, using a variety of different hands-on methods for students to really understand integers. Once we get through with that, then we focus on the algorithms. That way, when students are in the middle of solving expressions and equations, I can easily ask them what algorithm it is, and their brain can go back to the number line and then understand what the rule is to answer the problem. So algorithm number one is something that you've been doing since kindergarten. It's when you have two positives. If I asked a first grader, what's 5 plus 2? Do you think they could tell me it was 7? Yes. But algorithm 2 is when we add negatives on those numbers. So just like 5 plus 2 is 7, because two positives equal a positive, algorithm 2 is when I say negative 5 and negative 2 give us a negative 7. So if you know algorithm 1, which you do since first grade, you've been adding, well, kindergarten, you've been adding two positives together. If you can do algorithm number 1, then you can do algorithm number 2. The only difference is algorithm 1 is dealing with positive numbers. Algorithm 2 is dealing with negative numbers. Mathematically, you should understand why. Negative 5, I'm negative 5 on the number line. I go backwards 2, go back negative 2 on the number line. So I now have negative 7. I'm at negative 7 on the number line. So here, 5 and 2, 7, keep it positive. Negative 5, negative 2, 7, keep it negative. So in both algorithm 1 and 2, our brains are going to want to add the numbers. Here, algorithm 3, even though there is a plus sign that we see in the middle, because I have a positive and a negative, our brains are actually going to want or need to subtract. Now, we're not really subtracting the numbers, we're subtracting the absolute values. So the absolute value of negative 2 is positive 2 because it's 2 away from 0 on the number line. So if my brain just sees 5 and 2, I'm subtracting. So algorithm 3 is usually the hardest because even though I see an adding sign, our brain, in order to answer this algorithm, is going to have to subtract. Now, how do we figure out if the end is positive or if the end is negative? So for example, here, negative 5 plus 2, one's negative and one's positive. So I am subtracting the absolute values again. So the absolute value of negative 5 is 5. Absolute value of 2 is 2. So 5 and 2, subtract, we get 3. In this scenario, I had more positives. That's the reason my answer is positive. In this scenario, did I have more positives or did I have more negatives? I had more negatives. So my answer is going to be negative in the end. So let's do some examples. Looking at this first example, what algorithm is it? Algorithm 1, two positives? No. Algorithm 2, two negatives? Yes. Okay, so algorithm 2 tells me add them, the absolute values, and then keep the negative. Algorithm 2, two negatives, add the absolute values, keep the negative. All right, let's look at another example. I'm going to write this one down here. What algorithm is it? Do we have two positives? Nope, so it's not algorithm 1. Do we have two negatives? No, so it's not algorithm 2. Do I have one of each? Yes, so it's algorithm 3. Okay, algorithm 3, take the absolute values in your mind, 7 and 4, subtract them. Now, do I have more positives or do I have more negatives? I have more negatives, so my answer is negative. So algorithm 3, when you have one of each, in your mind, subtract the absolute values, figure out which absolute value is larger. In this case, it would be the negative. What algorithm? Algorithm 3, because one's positive and one's negative. Subtract our absolute values in our mind. Do we have more positives, more negatives? More positives. That's why the answer is a positive 2. I hope that helps. Keep it straight in your brain. Now remember, you have to